we have talked about a little after court, we have a good suggestion that maybe we pay our jurors when they check in. So we're gonna look into doing that so that that would speed everything up a lot. Because before, we had a little extra time and, we'll probably talk
And
about
they kind of
that
straggle in
process.
anyway, so
Ma'am?
they straggle in, you know, anyway, they don't
Yes.
all come in
At
at
one
once.
time, yeah, so, anyway, that's thanks to our illustrious district attorney for suggesting that good.
You're welcome.
We'll go to number 18, which is our Total Energies reintroduction of solar project and intention to apply for a 312 abatement in Freestone County, named Deidra Solar LLC.
I got a presentation.
There you are, yes.
Yes. Anybody else have one extra?
Oh, you can give it to her.
I'll give you mine.
Is there a requirement for solar companies to wear a cutting gun?
Leave my Christmas bonus. I guess I can just present right here.
Yes, sir, that's fine.
My name's Logan. I'm here on behalf of Total Energies to reintroduce this solar project we have under development in northwest of Teague, and let you guys know that we intend on applying for the 312 tax abatement as well. So I'm here to just reintroduce the project and give you guys some general info about solar projects and project specifics, and answer any questions you guys may have. So feel free to interrupt me at any time if you have any questions. And so a little bit about Total Energies. So Total is a large oil and gas company who's now breaking into renewable energy. They have pretty large ambitions with goals to be net carbon zero by 2050. In order to achieve that, we have smaller milestones, as in 16 gigawatts of renewable energy by Q3 2022, 35 gigawatts by 2025, and 100 gigawatts by 2030. And Total's general mission is to develop energy that is ever more affordable, cleaner, more reliable, and accessible to as many people as possible. So a little bit about Total's commitments regarding solar projects is that first of all, we want to have minimal ecological impact. So the projects are designed to utilize the latest solar technology to increase generation efficiency and decrease the land footprint needed. All of the projects are on privately owned property, so we negotiate deals with the landowners, and they're in full agreement to let us build on our property. We're not a utility, so we don't ever mess with like eminent domain or things like that. Environmental responsibility and regulatory compliance. We engage consultants to ensure we're environmentally responsible during construction and development. We assess any unique permitting needs, whether that be local, county, state, or federal permits. And community involvement. We'll host public meetings. We'll, in order to more inform the public of the area, of the solar projects in general, and to let you guys know we're here to be like good stewards and good neighbors. We're here for, we're not your guys' enemies, and we like to maintain a positive reputation in the communities where projects are constructed. So some areas of expertise is greenfield siting. Our team uses technology mapping to search for the best land positions around the country to develop these farms. Environmental studies and permitting, GIS and mapping, relationships with module suppliers and construction companies, real estate, title, and minerals, transmission and interconnection, tax agreement negotiation, and origination and PPA execution. about solar projects. So the project stages are pre-construction and development, which is the stage we're in right now here. We're on year 2, I believe. And so during this development stage, landowners continue to use the property. They have full access to their property, and we come out about once a year to do boots on the ground, like due diligence studies, environmental studies, make sure there's no hazardous materials on the land as well, and just further assess. And then during the construction phase, it usually lasts 18 to 24 months, depending on how big the project is. And during the construction phase is when we execute our option to lease or purchase. And so after that, the landowner essentially gives us the right to construct on their farm, and they'll no longer have access to the property, or there'll be gates. If they want to get on it, they'll just have to call us and let us know beforehand. And then solar farms usually last 25 to 40 years. After year 25, we assess the solar panel modules to make sure they're still efficient and running correctly. And so we'll assess them every 5 years until year 40. And then decommissioning, in the leases, we post a restorative bond so we can fund the decommissioning of the solar projects and recycle them responsibly and restore the land back to its original use. Some general solar project questions. How will the solar project look from the outside? We try to keep them as low profile as possible with similar characteristics to a greenhouse. They're carefully selected to obscure project visibility by avoiding residential areas and other sensitive areas. So they're enclosed with a security fence. It's like a mesh fence, and we try to also cover it with some local like vegetation so it blends in better and keeps a lower profile. Our solar project's noisy. During the day when they're on, if you're standing within 20 to 50 feet, you could hear a faint buzz like a refrigerator. But other than that, you can't hear them, and especially if you're outside of the project fence, you can't hear them at all. Do solar projects produce glare? So the solar panels do not produce glare. They're designed to absorb the light, absorb the sunlight, not reflect. They're also coated with anti-reflective coating. They're generally less reflective than windows, or the same amount of reflection as windows. And then what are solar panels made of? Essentially silicon, glass, silver wire, aluminum, copper, and other common materials. They're sealed between 2 pieces of glass, and no toxic materials will leach into the rock environment based on all our studies we do. And they're incredibly durable, and they have posts that go into the ground, and they meet all the local, state, federal regulations. Some more general questions. Do solar projects impact adjacent property values? So based on numerous professional appraisals, they have been proven to not negatively impact adjacent property values. They do not contribute significant noise, odor, or traffic impacts. Impacts on air, soil, and quality. They do not produce air pollution or water pollution or greenhouse gases. And regarding noise, you can't hear it from outside the project fence, but when they're on, like I said, you can hear it like a faint buzzing sound from 50 feet away. So during the operational stages, they're cleaned with water when it's needed. Most of the project area is perennial ground cover and eliminates annual tillage or irrigation or fertilizer, allowing the soil to absorb water. So will there be impact on wildlife? Our projects, we make sure we have environmental consultants go out there and do tests to make sure there's no impact on endangered species or endangered vegetation or just negative impact on wildlife in general. And then what happens after the useful life of the solar project? So the system is decommissioned and the land is restored back to its original value. And the equipment is recycled, resold, and salvaged as appropriate. Now, for the project specifics. So it's northwest of Teague, it's south of 84, and 2777, I think, runs right through the middle of it. So site control, we have all the land required to support the project size we're going for. However, we might reach out to adjacent neighbors of the project, so we have more design flexibility regarding the project. So the land is entirely ranching land. It's pretty flat. And, there's not a lot of trees on there, and as of now, there's no significant environmental or cultural sensitivities based on our desktop analysis. But next month we're going to have boots on the ground to do a more thorough analysis. And so we've already applied for the interconnection application to ERCOT, and ERCOT approved it. Like I said, we'll have boots on the ground next month to do a more thorough due diligence on the land itself. And then we completed our mineral ownership reports. And so the project itself will be a 300 megawatt project, and we plan to have a 100 megawatt battery on there as well. And it's set to hit operation by Q2 2025 if all goes according to plan. And so now for the tax incentive summary. So in Q2 2022 last year, we applied for the Freestone County 313, and in applying for that, we identified the project as a reinvestment zone, which was approved by the ISD and the comptroller. And so now we're preparing to apply for the Chapter 312 abatement with Freestone County, following the county guidelines for that application. And we're also requesting that the county adopts the 313 reinvestment zone as well. The project applied and was approved for the 313 with Teague ISD, following approval of that reinvestment zone as well. And the last page is right now, all the land we have site control of, based on the Freestone County CAD website. Right now, they're paying about $3,400 in taxes a year with, as it's undeveloped land, and they all have ag exemptions. And so over the life of the project, based on a brief projection, it'll be about $206,000 over 40 years. And so if our project is built in the first year, we will owe the county and ISD around $5.6 million. If we get the 312 and 313 abatements approved for the project, and it'll come out to be around $60 million over the life of the project. And when we apply for the abatement, we'll have we'll have a more mature study and more accurate numbers there with projections. And that is it. And I'm more than happy to take any questions you guys have.
How many acres is this project?
It's about 2,900 right now.
29.
Yes, sir.
Both sides of the road.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So 27.
Okay, how close does it get to the city lake?
City Lake. I don't know.
I mean, there's the Stiles property there, and I was just curious if it was involved, because it borders the whole city lake.
The Stylus property.
And Old Stiles, it's the, just a minute, Baggett area,
No, sir.
Okay.
Not yet.
They're absentee landowners, and I've been with them for years, I'm just curious about that.
Okay.
There's several hundred acres.
And then I know with the reinvestment zone approval, we had to send out mailers within, I think it's to every adjacent landowner and anyone within a certain radius of the project, so everyone around is aware.
Yeah.
And I fielded phone calls with neighbors, just had questions and things with that.
How far west does it go, west of 2777? Across the county road? I know it'll go, I know it'll go to 901, I'm just curious if you cross 901, North Joel.
Is 901 north to south?
Yeah, going south, north and south.
No, I think 2770.
Because I know the main guy that's involved in this, he goes all the way from Highway to 901. And I knew that y'all were building around him, to my knowledge, so.
Yes, sir. And when we apply, we'll have an actual
Okay.
project map
I
as
just
well.
curious.
I got that. And also, I'm more than happy to take questions in the future. If you guys ever think of anything, my contact info, or you call me or shoot me an email.
How many projects do y'all have where you have filed your 313 status right now?
For the 313, I think it's about 11. And so that application sunsetted at the end of 2022, so it's done now. But
Do y'all have any that are under construction right now?
we have one in the Houston area that's under construction. And then we have
Complete?
another, I'm sorry.
Are there any completed?
Yes, we have two.
Yeah, what counties are they in?
One is in Kent County, and the other one, I can't remember. We got like a whole bunch of projects in development. I'm only under a couple. And then we have another project set to construction in next month in the Houston area as well. And then when we apply, I'll give you guys a more detailed list about all of our projects currently under development, operational, under construction, and all the locations as well. I can't just remember off the top of my head though.
Did y'all get a 313 from TISD?
Yes, sir.
Y'all already signed that, right?
Yes, sir, that one was approved and signed.
And that had to be done by,
By the end of 2022,
Y'all did that in the fall, I think.
It had to be filed like by Thanksgiving. I don't
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
I'm not sure
I
if it's
remember.
taking
He
anything out of
I
that.
think last day, November, December, somewhere along in there.
Yeah.
I think
Crisco.
it was the first week of December, actually, but that works, we're kind of close.
When you're looking at the tax estimate
Mhm.
on the developed side, once it's completed, it'll be oh, that's the way, it'll be about $1.5 million a year taxes that we're paying on that, is it?
So, the first year will be, it'll be more than that actually, because, once we start constructing it, all that land will lose all their exemptions, their tax exemptions, and then, the value of the project will start at $450 million
Mhm.
and depreciate from there, and so,
Well, I was
So-
just looking at the 60 million, if it could be 40 years, but.
But the
it'll be
thing of it
a few
is,
years into it before.
That's county and school.
Yeah,
So
Mhm.
the county only gets about 29% of what the
Yeah.
school gets.
Well, but will that change, that percentage, with the different two abatement types, the 312 and the 313?
so,
Depends on what kind of abatement we do.
Yes, yeah, okay. Any questions then for anybody? And so you will be submitting some information to us in the future.
yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Once we send that initial application through 12, we'll also send along a lot more detail about the company, and then
Okay.
when we file, we'll have a really thorough report of where exactly the money will go to ISC, districts, all that good stuff.
Y'all got your minerals cleaned up, cleared up?
That's in progress. It's in progress.
Just
It's-
curious.
It's
It's a big
very, yes, it takes way longer than, it takes a long, like, really long time.
Of the current facilities that you have in operation, has any of those counties chosen to go with the pilot program, the payment in lieu of taxes, versus the abatement
No, sir, not with our projects.
Anything else? Well, thank you for coming today.
Thank you guys for having me. Like I said, shoot me an email. Got any more questions?
Thank you. We will do number 19 next, and that's Total Energies, not Total Energies like I originally said, Total Energies. And then we'll go back up to item number 16, which I skipped.
Do we still need to do 15, Renee?
I'm sorry, what?
Number
We
15?
never
Yeah,
did
we
15.
need to do that.
Holy cow, okay, thank you.
Number 19.
Oh,
Be
that's
next,
gonna
or
be
you
a
gotta
good
go back
one,
first?
too. Let's go ahead and do number 19.
Got it.
The RC.
Here we go. Chill.
Good morning.
Good one.
Good seeing you. Come on, everybody.
Again, I know I've met with y'all a couple of times, but just so I introduce myself and for the broader group, I'm Evan Horn. I'm with Ernst & Young. I'm the tax consultant working alongside Eric and the Candela team that's developing the Bar C solar project here in Freestone County. And so if I take back a couple of meetings, I think even Mr. McSwain, you hadn't quite officially been sworn in yet, but we've had a couple of meetings, kind of just sharing some updates on the project over the last year. Obviously, calendar year 2022 was really important for the school district piece. As the previous presentation mentioned here, our project is within the Oakwood ISD, and we were kind of navigating that process, ultimately got a signed deal with Oakwood ISD with the support of Russell Holden and the superintendent, everybody down there, we were able to get that done. So as we were walking through that, I kind of had a couple meetings with y'all to kind of start to inform you more about the project. Since then, I had a chance to sit down with Commissioner Bonner as well as Commissioner Lane to kind of start sharing some more specific financial specifics about the project in preparation for submitting the application that's here for you to just consider today. Again, I think the agenda item, it's not an actual agreement. I think the way that it's written, I think the only thing that we would be asking the court to consider today is a non-binding, but just simply accept the application that I'm going to put out in front of you for further consideration. So I'll pass out this. I think what we'll do, while I said maybe I'm not going to go through all of the responses that we have within the application here. Again, the application we put together was based on the renewed guidelines and criteria that y'all put into place, I think, at one of your December meetings. So a lot of, again, the questions that are posed within your guidelines and criteria, obviously we respond to within the application. Again, we've got the Bar C solar project that we're talking about here. This project is, again, kind of at the intersection of 79 and 84, I believe, right, down in the Oakwood area. This one is just it is a 200 megawatt project, but based on the available area, it could take up to about 2,500 acres to build this 200 megawatt project. What we're talking about right now is just a solar facility. I can't remember if there's any battery being considered, but
yeah, we're considering a 200 megawatt battery system but that's going to depend a lot on ERCOT's market redesign that's being proposed. If they decide they really want to focus on reliability, we might end up having a battery.
so that may enter into the equation. All of the numbers and figures that I'm going to share with you in this application, though, are just based on solar farm equipment and the 200 megawatts that I mentioned. You know, if things continue to proceed, the earliest that they could start construction would be Q2 of 2024, and then they would go commercially operational sometime in early 2026. As mentioned before, you know, this has a useful life of about 25 to 40 years. The schedule of values and the proposals I put into you is a 30-year schedule, and we'll go into that in more detail here soon. Again, when it's under construction, there's going to be hundreds of people working on this project, coordinating with the county with a road use agreement for ingress, egress, informing the public of what they can expect during the construction schedule is going to be vitally important. But obviously that will be a benefit to the local community as well, with hundreds of workers being here, you know, staying at hotels, you know, buying food at restaurants, gas stations, etc. Once it's up and operational, again, kind of as you've heard, there's not many moving parts, right? There's the trackers that follow the path of the sun on a daily basis, and that's truly almost the only moving parts, other than some of the transformers and other things that are for the transmission side. So once it's operational, it requires a lot less, you know, hands-on work on a day-to-day basis. So what you'll see here is we're just committing to one full-time employee. Again, those are going to be highly paid employees. And the wage commitment that we put within this application of $53,500 a year, that lines up with the exact same commitment we had to make to Oakwood ISD as well. The comptroller has a very, very specific process on the types of wages and benefits that you have to commit to for that 313 program with the school district. So what we've committed to do here is essentially that exact same commitment that the comptroller requires for that other program. If we kind of skip forward a little bit, again, I think we talked about, I think everybody wants to know kind of what would the ultimate benefit of this project be specifically to Freestone County. Flip first, just so everybody can see a visual representation of the project. That's in Exhibit A. You should see this map here. Again, with the majority of the project being south of 84, but kind of right where 79 and 84 intersect. But if you skip to Exhibit B, this is something, again, that Commissioner Lane, Ms. Barr may have shared with everybody. You may have seen some version of this before. I've added some additional detail to this based on just some informal conversations I've had with y'all. But again, the way that this Exhibit B lines out, what we're going to be showing is kind of the path of the estimated market value of the project for property tax purposes to Freestone County, as well as the tax impact with and without a potential abatement agreement. Now note, I have all of these figures that we're having here do not include other taxing jurisdictions collections. So I know there was other big numbers. Obviously Oakwood ISD is going to collect the most amount of taxes, but any of these figures and totals is just specific to Freestone County. So if we start from the left, again, what you're going to see, I mentioned the potential construction schedule, right? Potentially sometime within 2024, some level of construction could begin. So by 1/1 of 2025, there could be some, minor amount of equipment that's been delivered to the site that the county could tax. So again, that's why you're seeing, about $15 million potentially in tax years 2025. You then track over, obviously there wouldn't be any abatement in that year. We've held flat your 37-cent tax rate for this whole 30-year projection. So just, like I said, remove that as a fluctuating variable. You're then going to see one column that says taxes before abatement, then you're going to see taxes after abatement, and then we'll talk about pilots here in a minute once I kind of go through a couple other things I put together. So again, it starts at about $15 million, and then it's going to ramp up, right? By the next year, there's going to be even more equipment that's there. The value in 2026 gets up to about, $110 million on the rolls, but then peaks the year following in tax year 2027 at just less than $160 million. Now what we've proposed here, again, when we talk about kind of just the way that tax abatements can be structured, right? We know by statute within Chapter 312, the county can grant anything from 1 year at 0.01% all the way to the statutory maximum of a 10-year 100% abatement. So what we've done here is kind of put together two ways of essentially skinning the cat. We've obviously calculated what the taxes would be before any abatement based on the values that you see in that one column. We then have applied a 60% abatement for a 10-year period. So you can see the taxes before the abatement and the taxes after the abatement, right? So essentially over that 10-year period for after the abatement, if that was granted, it would essentially be about $1.5 million in tax. Again, what we have seen other counties in our experience, some of them like it for very specific reasons, and I can give you some of those reasons that they like it. Sometimes counties choose to abate 100% of the property value, and instead for some period of years agree to a payment in lieu of tax. And the reason that they like to do that in some cases is, again, because it is 100% abated, it will not be part of your overall tax roll. So it won't enter into your tax rate calculations on an annual basis. So you can essentially, even though you're receiving this additional money from the pilot, you can continue to operate the M&O budget for the county like the project doesn't even exist. So what we've seen when they do a payment in lieu of tax, sometimes there's some very tangible things that the county or the community needs, whether it's new trucks, some certain road improvement, they want to build a community pool. I'm just throwing out things that have been used where then this payment in lieu of tax, that money is then diverted to that specific need, and that project essentially funds that. We've seen this especially a lot in counties, again, where there's a lot of new development occurring, right? This is just one project, but we mentioned a 400 megawatt project. I know there's hundreds of other megawatts that are being developed here within Freestone County, that it could all hit your tax rolls in different years as well, adding to that complexity. So again, many of the ways that they like to do is they simply, from a budgeting perspective, they can say, hey, we've agreed to this structure kind of in general for these types of projects. We know if we do a pilot, we know exactly what we're gonna get in year 5 from this project if it's built, and year 6 from that project, and it makes it much easier to manage as significant development occurs. So what we've done is, like I said, if that's something the county would want to consider, really all we do is we calculate what the taxes would be based on a traditional abatement, the 60% traditional abatement. And again, that's 1.5 million. Well, then we could just take that 1.5 million, we can divide it by 10, right, 10-year period, and then we can divide it by the size of our project, which is 200 megawatts. And the reason that we do that is that the ultimate size of the project, let's say it goes to 212, well, the payments then go up to 212. Or if they end up building a battery and they add another 200 megawatts, the county isn't frozen at that amount, right? It can fluctuate as development of the project continues till ultimately it reaches commercial operations. So if we track there, again, that's that 1.5 million. Obviously, that's the period of which we're asking. The payment of taxes would continue, right, for the next 20 years, what you're seeing, for a sum total to the county after the abatement under this structure of about $4.1 million. What I've then added, again, Commissioner Lane and Mr. Martin, what you haven't seen, what we've talked about is how does that compare to what the county is collecting right now, right? Again, on the solar farm equipment, we're looking at about 4.1 million. On the land taxes alone, and this is just county collections, not school district collections, you'll see in blue, it's about $777,000. In the first year when the land is converted from ag to commercial, on this acreage, the county will also collect about $75,000 on rollback. So you'll have total collections to the county over this 30-year period of over $5 million. And again, the biggest comparison here is that same acreage that would be converted there over this same 30-year period, if nothing else was developed, the county would collect $35,000. So the rollback alone would essentially be double what the county would collect over a 35-year period. But obviously that's not the only benefit. You get the full $5 million that's being estimated in this table. So that's what we put here. Obviously we've included a lot of detail, and Eric's here to talk about Candela's experience. I know there were some questions asked about projects that are currently being constructed. We helped them support the project, the 7V solar project in Fayette County. That's currently under construction. We negotiated tax abatement with Fayette County as well as the school district, and I think that's going to go COD later, some mid-time this year, potentially.
COD will probably be 2024.
Okay. So, obviously, you can kind of flip to the back. They've got long history of their team of successful developments, not only here in the state of Texas, but across the country. But I'm glad, like I said, if there was any other details within the numbers, or even as you were kind of reading through this application as I put it out, we'd love to tell you more about the project or answer any questions.
How many projects you say y'all have now that you've already up and going?
In Texas?
Yes.
So we have one project under construction in Texas. We don't have any that are completed.
Do you have any in any other states that y'all completed?
None that are completed.
So this back page with all these markers on it, none of these are completed.
So this back page is our team. We're a very experienced team that's been in the industry. Most of us, I am not, I am young. But most of the team has been in the industry working for about 10 years. And most of their projects were at First Solar, back when it had development shop. And we're California, Nevada, Arizona, some in Texas. And now that Candela is its own company, now we're kind of going national. Texas is our favorite market for obvious reasons. But we also are still doing quite a bit in California, Nevada, Arizona, Ohio, and Florida.
Don't enjoy it.
Yeah, that is not a project I have worked on.
I have a quick question on, from a first responder standpoint, being on a fire department, not having, a lot of experience with solar farms. I have seen that there is a potential to, injury to a firefighter if it caught on fire and we had to go out there or whatever. Do y'all put on any kind of classes or at your expense to train, fire personnel how to respond to your situations?
Yeah, so there's a project we're looking at right now in Houston County, and we're already starting to get together with the volunteer fire departments. Most of what we would request is actually, we have fire breaks, there are large roads that go through the project, and please just let it burn. Maintain the perimeter, but we have insurance that can cover that, and it's easier for a live, there's a lot of electricity that's running through. And so we prefer, like any grass fire, just make sure that it doesn't go outside the perimeter. But we do have those classes, and we will coordinate with the volunteer fire departments and EMTs. All of the teams that get together and are going to be important. This is also during construction. We want to make sure that we are aware, so in case there's a construction injury, that you know how to get there, what gates, how to access. In terms of since we last met, which I think was August or September, the project has been going through mid-stage engineering, so we now have, we're looking at what the pipelines are, situation in the area. We've done wetland delineations, we're avoiding those lands, so we have a better idea of where the panels are going to be. It's not a final completion, we still might change with regard to, we might have oil well set-asides that would change at kind of the last minute, depending on how the minerals get negotiated. That process is going forward. We have a cultural resource going forward, so that's making sure we don't have any settler or native artifacts on site. We're going forward with an Army Corps of Engineers 404 permit. That's a clean water permit.
Sure.
At this moment, we may
Absolutely,
have
yeah.
after we study this a little bit.
Absolutely.
There was a guy, is Gabe Engineering, is that someone that works for y'all?
No, not as far as I recall.
There was a request the other day to have a power line put down the county road, on the county road side of the fence.
Yes, we are considering, requesting with the county having a right-of-way access, is that Road 301? It's
No, well,
300,
south of 300.
321.
320,
Yeah.
Between
Miss,
Warren,
no,
between the Manning properties.
okay.
Liberty Box
But,
goes south. That's 321.
that's 321
Yeah.
delivery box.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's that, and the lady on the left,
Sheffield,
no,
she's right in the corner where you turn on 311. Manning,
Manning.
it's
over there.
Manning.
Yeah. She's the one that not allowing y'all to put it on on her side of the fence, basically.
Well, Sheffield is the one who doesn't want it on their side of the fence. Manning is one of our landowners.
Right.
And so one of the questions is whether it's going to be, it would be very convenient for us if we could use the county right of way along that road in order to connect the two parcels without having to disturb the Sheffields. So that's something that
So are they gonna let y'all have any overhang at all?
we haven't gotten that far. It's just a preliminary conversation of if it's possible.
if it benefits you through the, Texas Public Utility Code, you know, you have that right to put it on the poles on the county roadside. And unlike what happened on County Road 431, which was a total nightmare, the location out there is a great spot to run a power line. It's not a lot of timber. I don't see, really not a lot for people to grab about right there.
It's a very, I want to say it's a couple hundred yards. It's
Yeah,
very
that's
small.
what I mean. It's a good spot to do that, if you can't get landowner permission. So I hope that makes it easier for y'all going forward.
I hope so too.
Yeah.
Like I said, the only thing that we're asking for today is, again, no binding decision, but just to accept the application for further consideration, and then we'll continue the conversation.
Now we need a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor, aye? Any opposed? None. Motion carried.
Thank y'all so much.
Yeah.
Good seeing you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
look forward to
y'all.
talking more.
See y'all.
Yes, sir.
All right, when we came back, I looked down and I saw that this part had already been done, so we've been done, so I just went down the line. But I missed doing two of these. Number 15, property alert, add-on to cloud search. You wanna talk to us about that? Yeah. I think that's something pretty exciting. Not that y'all's wasn't excited. There's been a lot of stuff today that have been too exciting. Thank goodness.
Okay, there is a add-on to Copal. You know, Copal is the company that maintains our land records. And they have a program, and it's handled on their cloud where our records are, that people could sign up for property fraud alert. Like, say Clyde, you signed up for this, you could put in Clyde Ridge, Clyde, whatever your middle initial is, Ridge, or you can put it in several different ways. And if somebody filed a deed with your name on it, you would get a notification on a text or email. It just makes people aware of, you know, if somebody is filing documents in your name.
Yes.
It's a
that's
safety.
concerning.
And it's free to the public. It'll cost us $100 a month. I think that's a pretty good service to offer our people. Now, what some of the counties have done, they get with the tax office, and when they do their mass mailings, just put in a little, you know, notification in there, making people more aware of it. But now, Copal will, you know, they'll train us, and we will have literature in our office and tell people about it. And then they also have a press release that we could put in the paper or on our website. So, but that's what this is it's a service to the public. It's free to the public. I think it's a very good deal with the way things are nowadays.
That is a great service to our.
Yeah, and help protect the people.
And just be sure when you put the name that you get all of it, look at your property and see how it's, the deeds are, and be sure and have that on there.
Actually, it mentions in here, there's two different ways you can set it up. You can set it up with the names, but you can also set it up with information that's in the document, like your land description. You know, so that's good. But anyway, that's what we're
Do we have a motion?
for.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, who seconded it?
I'm gonna wait till you sit down.
Okay.
Andy did second.
Clyde, got three.
Well, I heard Lloyd in there,
Lloyd
so.
and Clyde.
Lauren,
So we have a motion
Lauren, Clyde.
to participate in the property alert add-on to the cloud search. Is that the way you want it? All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye? Motion carried. Item number 16 is to approve the recommendation of the Selection Review Committee to award by resolution a contract for engineering services pertaining to the application and implementation, if awarded, of the county's 2023-2024 Texas Department of Agriculture, Texas CDBG grant, and that's a block grant, on behalf of South Freestone County Water Supply Corporation, and authorizing the execution of a contract. That's a lot of stuff.
Yes. Thank God the grant administrator took care of that.
Yes.
February 6th, we had the deadline for the applications from the engineering firms. We've received 5. The committee met on February 7th. That was Jeff Clark, the president, Lloyd Lane, and myself. And we scored each one of those applications they sent to us. And the winner for that, or the high score, was Belvin and Weeks, Tyler Hendrickson, with a score of 94. And so that's who we would like to approve as the engineer going forward. The next step after approving that today would be next month. We'll have to approve the actual application that is due on April 3rd. So we'll have a pretty busy month of trying to get everything into the application and determine exactly where. The application has to state where we're going to put this money very specifically. So we've got a system study going with Belvin and Weeks already at this time, and so part of that system study will go into our decisions of where we really want to put this money as far as what area of the system and whether or not we're going to do line upgrades or if we're going to go with storage tank upgrades. But it will be capacity increases of some kind. But we really feel like it's good to use the system study that he's currently working on so that we can determine the most needed area of our system and start there and prioritize the highest priority. So pretty much today we just need to approve Belvin and Weeks and then we can move forward.
Do we have a motion to approve the recommendation of the Selection Review Committee to award the contract for engineering services to Belvin and Weeks?
I make that motion.
Second.
All in favor, aye. And
We got a resolution.
we have a resolution.
We got 5, man. I'll keep these.
I have signed the resolution, and you need to sign that, maybe put your stamp on it.
Okay.
All right. Anything further? If not, do we have any comments from Commissioners Court members?
Covering volunteer fire department's city suppers this weekend.
Hey,
I'm gonna say 4 to 7. 4 to whenever.
41 now, all right?
And I think Southern Oaks is next weekend.
And do. Southern Oaks and do.
A lot of eating. Okay.
See.
Okay.
Pete had a good one. They raised about $3,000. And there's what you looked at. I thought that's pretty good.
Anything else? If not, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I got a lot of calls about the state park bill. I don't understand people trying to distort private property rights. I don't agree with it.
no, we-
Wait now, say that again.
The seller on the state park is private property, and the buyer's private. And the state of Texas is talking about an eminent domain to force the owner to sell to the state.
They were offered the property initially. I mean, they turned it down, so.
They've had 2.5 years to buy it, and they didn't have to check in.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't.
I mean, I think the fallacy is within the government of the state of Texas, primarily in the wildlife and parks, you know? It's,
On the other flip side is, eminent domain normally is taking property away from people. But the eminent domain in this situation is trying to save the private property for the citizens. Is my take on that.
But if someone would have been doing their job, they could have done had a deal made before it ever went on the market.
Not necessarily, I don't think Parks and Wildlife had the money before.
Do they have it now?
I think they do.
Yes.
Lots of changes that recently happened.
I was told the last offer was still 60 million, and the property has a contract sale price of 110 million.
Yeah.
So, all right, anything further?
I better motion with adjourn.
Second.
That's a good idea.
Thank you.